And now back to the United States' own border with Mexico. Border agents encountered a record number of illegal immigrants in 2021. Customs and Border Protection encountered about 2 million illegal border crossers last year alone. That's 3 times more compared to just 1 year ago, and the highest since the mid-1990s. The Epoch Times reported that in addition to the 2 million encounters, there were also about 600,000 gotaways, meaning those that were detected by Border Patrol but not captured. Nearly half of the encounters in December were people from countries other than Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. A year ago, that number was about 10%. Border agents have also seized more dangerous drugs like fentanyl. The raw materials that make fentanyl are often shipped from China to the United States or Mexico. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is scheduled to visit the border later this week. The southern border is still seeing a record number of illegal immigrants and illegal drugs make their way in from Mexico to Texas. We have a Texas congressman who has his finger on the pulse here with us to discuss. Congressman Brian Babin, thank you so much for joining us on the Capitol Report.
Always good to be with you, Steve. Looking forward to it.
Now, Congressman, there's so much going on right now, and it seems as though the issue at our southern border has not been in the headlines as much lately. Has this problem been resolved, and what is the situation down there right now?
The situation is dire. It's a crisis. It's quite frankly, a disaster, Steve. It is absolutely a crisis of Biden's own making, and it's not getting better. It's getting worse by the day. And as the Border Security Caucus co-chairman of the House, I've been down there numerous times. It's incredible the dangers and the jeopardy that this administration is placing the American people in.
Now, Congressman, border agents are reporting over 1,000% increase in seizures of fentanyl at Texas, the southern border. Given the lethality of this drug and the devastation it causes, should it be enough for the federal government to treat this issue as an emergency crisis? And why are we not hearing more about it?
Absolutely. It's a crisis that has killed over 100,000 Americans in the last year. This is the highest on record that I think that we've ever had. And it's because of the empowerment of the drug cartels by this Biden administration. We've got the seizures, as you've said. It's up over, I think it's 1,066% increase, which has led to this. I mean, there's literally tons, 87,000 pounds of narcotics have been seized at our southern border. And, it's killing Americans. It's not just a drug problem either. This is a terrorist problem. This is a crime problem. Sanctuary cities, everything kind of dovetails into this entire issue, and the enormous cost to local and municipal governments, county, states, to take care, educate, medicate all of these people that are coming across. It is astounding. And at the same time, defunding our police departments, demonizing them to where we have a crime wave just washing over our country right now.
Now, Congressman Babin, fentanyl is coming in through our southern border, but by many accounts, it's actually originating from China. Yes. Congressman, we both know nothing and nobody leaves China without the consent of the Chinese regime. How concerning is this?
That's very concerning. I call it a weapon of mass destruction because, look, if you can kill over 100,000 Americans on these drugs that are coming across, the Chinese are certainly not our friends. We know that. We've seen that in really vivid technicolor over the last couple of years, introducing the COVID pandemic. Quite frankly, I think, who knows whether it was deliberate or not, but it certainly looks like that. And the Democrats don't want to investigate that. We have been trying as Republicans to have a full investigation on the origins of COVID, and we keep getting pushback from the Democrats. And so, hey, what's new? The Chinese are out to steal our secrets. They're out to kill Americans. We've seen the empowerment not only of the Chinese by this Biden administration, but now we've got this crisis in the Ukraine where they have literally unshackled Putin And I think that stems directly from the horrible debacle of our withdrawal or retreat, if you will, from Afghanistan, leaving thousands of our allies and Americans behind, and leaving $85 billion worth of weaponry and high-tech, equipment in the hands of the Taliban. Unbelievable.
Now, Congressman, China is the biggest abuser of human rights on the planet. They've been gifted another Olympics, which is just around the corner. Are you in support of a diplomatic boycott, or what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are yes, absolutely in support of a diplomatic boycott. Quite frankly, I don't know why we're participating at all. We are dealing with a regime. They've already told the athletes coming in that they will be surveilled and they are not to talk about politics. Why are we there? It's just unbelievable. Look, I was an athlete in my younger days. My kids are athletes. My grandchildren are athletes. This is a great thing to have the Olympics, but when it's being hosted by a despotic, dictatorial, human rights abusing regime like the Communist Chinese Party, we shouldn't be giving this regime legitimacy like this.
Congressman Brian Babin, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Steve.
Senator Rick Scott of Florida said on Monday that the Chinese Communist Party's human rights abuses should be front and center during the upcoming Winter Olympics.
Next week, the 2022 Olympics will begin in Beijing, and the world will watch as Communist China, it's Communist China, let's never forget that, whitewashes these crimes and churns its propaganda machine to make the world forget just how evil this empire is.
The senator decried Beijing's human rights abuses ahead of the Winter Games.
It is a fact that the Communist Chinese Party is committing horrific human rights abuses against.
Scott says that for years he has been calling to move the Olympics out of China. Several representatives of groups facing oppression in China talked about their own experiences in Hong Kong and in Xinjiang. Scott points out that his goal is to highlight these individual stories when the Olympics get started.
Their stories ought to be front and center, just like the Olympics is front and center.
The Winter Games will begin in Beijing on February 4th. Due to human rights concerns, many countries, including the U.S., have announced a diplomatic boycott of the Games, meaning they will not be sending any high-level officials to Beijing. Rights groups and China watchers have been calling for more action. OSHA has announced its withdrawal of the vaccine mandate and testing requirement for companies with 100 employees or more. The withdrawal is effective Wednesday. OSHA's announcement comes after a recent Supreme Court decision blocking the rule. OSHA says they are still strongly encouraging vaccination. The Biden administration is keeping track of federal employees who've applied for religious exemptions from the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. And now House Republicans are calling for an end to it. More than 40 House Republicans sent a letter to President Biden. They say that the power of the federal government cannot be used to track federal employees who've applied for a religious exemption. According to the Federal Register, the administration announced the intent to create at least one database for the Pretrial Services Agency on January 11th. At least 19 additional federal agencies are proposing similar databases. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, is downgrading its forecast for the world economy this year. The main factors include the spread of Omicron, higher energy prices, surging inflation, and a deteriorating economic outlook for the United States and China. According to the IMF's forecast, the global economy will expand 4.5% this year. That's down 1.5% from their estimate last year, and also 0.5% lower than the forecast in October. The agency also slashed its growth forecast for the U.S. economy from 5.2% in October to 4%, with similar declines projected in China. Meanwhile, U.S. consumer confidence fell this month as persistent inflation and the Omicron variant continues to surge.